like to call the August meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Education to order. This will set the meeting agenda. We do need to add one item. We'll make it 6Q. 6Q is we'll make public the results of the superintendent evaluation. It's the only change I see to make. Any other question or discussion? If not, entertain a motion to accept the meeting agenda with that one addition.
I'll make a motion.
You have a second? Bruce seconds. We'll vote. Ricky?
Yes.
Gloria?
Yes.
Etta?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. And I vote yes also. Public comment for agenda items only. We have no public comment this evening. Number 4, the superintendent and staff reports. Any questions, comments about any of that? Read at your leisure. Consent agenda. Any comments or questions about the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I make the motion.
Etta makes a motion, second.
I'll second.
Gloria seconds. Ricky? Vote.
Yes.
Gloria?
Yes.
Etta?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. And I vote yes also. Action items, tax rates, Leanne Smith.
We have two basic options for our tax rates. The first is to take the compensating rate for real estate this year. That would be 50.7. Compensating rate for personal property would be 54. That would generate revenue in the amount of $6,219,696. The other option is to take the 4% revenue increase. The real estate rate would be 53.2, and the personal property rate would be 54.8. That would generate $6,480,000. The difference between the compensating and the 4% revenue increase would be a little over $250,000. My recommendation to the board would be to consider the 4% revenue increase. This would result in actually a decrease for our homeowners in the county. The property tax rate would drop from 53.95 to 53.2. And the personal property rate would be 54.8. This would bring in $410,000 more for us as compared to last year. If the board desires to look into that, we would advertise and have a public hearing prior to our next board meeting. And at that time, you all could vote on either the compensating or the 4% or any rate in between those.
Questions or comments regarding tax rates?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last week you mentioned salaries in Lincoln County being comparable to other counties. And of course, I hope that includes substitutes that we overlooked this year. But my question is, what is the plan for other monies besides the salaries?
What
Would there be any left?
Well, if you remember this year when we decided to take a 2% increase
Right.
for certified and classified. The cost of that was around $400,000. So if we take the 4% revenue increase, it's going to be $410,000.
Okay.
So it's pretty much a wash if the board decided to give a 2% raise again next year.
Okay.
Does that answer what you're asking?
Yes, yes, thank you.
I know that the board has expressed the desire to keep our salaries competitive, keep those high, to increase those in the future. And so I think in time that increase to the salary would allow us to accomplish that on an annual basis. And as I pointed out, this would actually be for most people a decrease. And, for most taxes, if they pay a decrease, the motor vehicle tax would be the same. It's 54.2 every year, and our utility tax is set at 3%.
Plus, we're probably starting to need to address like some facility issues as well, which will probably, the facility plan, when are we going to be seeing that?
Meeting on the 26th, to have the final meeting. Once approved by the local planning committee, then we can have it on the working board agenda for September. And the board can start talking, discuss it, and I'll take board approval for that.
Any other questions or comments? What's our timeline on this?
We have 45 days from the date that this was certified, which would have us, we have to have the rate set by September the 11th. And so that would allow us to have, our next meeting is maybe September the 8th, the 9th. So we would have time to advertise, in the appropriate time period and have our public hearing on September the 9th, immediately prior to our board meeting, and then during the meeting, set the rate that's desired.
Okay. All right. So we really don't require action tonight on anything, correct?
The only action, if you decided to just take the compensating rate, you can do that tonight. If there is an interest in hearing from the public or pursuing that 4% revenue increase, we would not be able to take action on that tonight.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
I think Ricky.
Ricky, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I think we need to pursue the 4% revenue increase.
So do I.
Okay. Moving on. All right. 6B, the 2021-2022 District Emergency Operation Plans, Mr. Krager.
We review the emergency operations plan as it's mandated that we do each summer. Reviewed it with district administrators, first responders, made necessary updates, changed any demographic information, and we submitted it to you guys for your approval.
Okay. Any questions or comments about that plan?
The only thing is, just like I said last week, is
The scheduled
we
sharing of
need
drills.
something like to ensure that we're monitoring.
Yes. And as I was just, you all tell me how you want that, how often you want it, and I'll provide it. I mean, do we want it quarterly?
For the principals have to turn in that information on a monthly basis to
Yes.
you? Can we just include it in the monthly consent agenda?
Well, that's what, I mean, we have like a monthly report, just
Yeah.
like a page thing
Yeah.
that shows everybody's in
Not a problem.
compliance with drills and lockdowns and what have you.
Yes, sir.
That's just going to ensure some of the things that's in the past.
Sure.
That works for everybody. Let's just do it like that. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good. 6C, buses for surplus, Mr. Krager.
We need to go back and.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
I'm sorry. Yes. Lori makes a motion, second. Bruce. Vote. Ricky.
Yes.
Gloria.
Yes.
Etta.
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
I vote yes also. All right. 6C, buses for surplus, Mr. Krager.
You've got the numbers of the 4 buses that we submitted. They're out of depreciation. Buses 403, 404, 405, and 501. First 2 digits being the indicator of the years of those buses. They've actually been out of depreciation for a couple of years. We're asking for permission to surplus and advertise to accept bids on those.
Questions or comments on that? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to accept bus numbers 0403, 0404, 0405, and 0501 as surplus. Bruce makes a motion, Etta seconds, vote. Ricky,
Yes.
Sorry,
Gloria, I'm sorry,
I needed the motion for it to also say advertise and accept closed bid.
okay. Let me add that to it then. The motion is declare bus numbers 0403, 0404, 0405, and 0501 as surplus and advertise for and accept closed bids. Same deal. Bruce makes the motion. Second,
Yes.
Etta. Vote. Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
I vote yes also. And 6D, bus purchase. Mr. Krager and Leanne Smith.
We are seeking permission from the board to purchase 2 special needs buses at the cost of $120,159 apiece. And those will be paid for with IDF funds.
Questions or comments? If there are none, I'll accept a motion to approve the purchase of 2 special needs buses.
I'll make a motion.
Gloria makes a motion, Bruce seconds. Vote. Ricky,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
I vote yes also. 6E, the Family Health and Disabilities Manager, Brandy Hahn.
Yes, we're just asking for that position to include and encompass the assistant principal, the educational leadership certification. That was something we had marked as preferred on the job description, but in order for that person to utilize their certificate, it has to be required. And that's through EPSB. That was the advice we were given through EPSB. And then to also add those 10 days to even them out with all that would be out of Head Start fund, or actually out of preschool IDEA funds.
Okay. Questions or comments?
Did we get any guidance?
If you don't care, sure. Mr. Baker, sorry you could not be here this evening, but what he told me yesterday was that he contacted KDE. It is his legal opinion that a position does not need to be reposted if the board changes a job description or adds additional days or changes the salaries.
Ms. Hahn, has policy council approved this?
We're actually in a unique situation right now. We can't get a policy council until we get all our kids enrolled,
Okay.
because it has to be representative of the families that are enrolled in our program. So we have selected those folks and they have not met yet. So they are meeting later this month. And so it doesn't matter the order that we approve those in, whether the policy council or the governing body approves first, but they will both be approved before that would take any, before that would actually be approved.
Anyone else? All right. I'll accept a motion to approve the job description revisions of required leadership certification and 10 extended days for the Family Health and Disabilities Manager position.
I'll make a motion. My second.
All right, Ricky makes a motion, Gloria seconds, vote. Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
And I vote yes also. 6F, 21st Century Director position, Ms. Hart.
Yes, so again, I'm just asking for a stipend that would be attached to each school, and this would go to the director as they are now covering all 7 schools rather than just half.
And once again, that is covered by the fact you eliminated a director position, therefore that money is absorbed that way, correct?
Yes, sir, yes.
Do we need to abolish that?
That's a good question.
I would recommend we go ahead and abolish the position in the same motion.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Actually never had, like, it was just a director position, and we still have a director position.
But we're be abolishing one of the director positions.
The way the grants are written, there was really never just 2. The grants are written like a director, and so we split them, but they weren't, it's just a director position. I mean, we can, but I don't know that we really have one on the books.
I don't think
As
we can
2
say,
directors.
Yeah, we can go ahead and include it in this motion just to cover ourselves.
I thought we did back some time ago because like I think some of the migrant program like earlier. But that,
We'll build it into this. Any other questions, comments? If not, I would ask that we approve a $2,000 per school stipend for the 21st Century Community Learning Center Director's position and eliminate the other position that has been in effect within the past. Bruce, second.
Second.
Etta, vote. Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
I vote yes also. 6G MOA with Midway University, Mr. Rowe.
Yes, our recommendation is for the board to approve the memorandum of agreement with Midway University to allow us to partner and use their students as student teachers.
Question or comment? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with Midway University.
motion.
Bruce makes the motion. Etta seconds. Vote. Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
I vote yes also. 6H, memorandum of agreement with Murray State University, Mr. Rowe.
Yes, very similar to the previous item. As my recommendation is approve the memorandum of agreement with Murray State University to allow their students to receive clinical hours for counseling.
Question or comment? If there are none, I would ask for a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement with Murray State University.
Make the motion.
Etta makes a motion, second Gloria. Sorry, Bruce.
Bruce?
Vote, Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce.
Yes.
I vote yes also. 6I, COVID-19 emergency days. Mr. Rowe.
Yes, this is, since our last meeting, things have changed drastically with what options we have as a board. I want to kind of share those with you. Sorry, I just uploaded for the meeting a copy of the email. I think was sent to all board members. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see that from Eric Kennedy from KSBA. So there's two options basically the board has. 702 KAR 1:191E has been passed, and then there's now, well, it's going to be regulation as soon as they turn it into the Legislative Research Commission. It states that each district shall provide paid quarantine leave to all eligible employees. Basically, to be eligible, the employee has to be placed in quarantine by a medical professional, the health department, school district, etc. And 2, the employee must be vaccinated against COVID-19, or if they present a statement from a treating medical professional that a disability prevents the employee from taking the vaccine, or is prevented from taking the COVID-19 vaccination based on sincerely held religious belief. The emergency regulation will apply only for the 2021-2022 school year and only relates to quarantine for COVID-19 and its variants. If that's what the board would like to see take place, no action has to be taken. One thing to make sure that everybody understands that I was not aware of is there is a difference between quarantining and actually testing positive for COVID-19. If you are quarantining, you can use the emergency leave. If you have COVID-19, you have to take a sick day because you are considered ill. That is not something the board can change because this is in the regulation that was passed by the Kentucky Board of Education. So that's something we'll make sure our employees have to understand. Now, the board can choose to do some additional items, and you can see those are numbered as 1, 2, and 3 later on the first page. The district can actually say at its discretion that it may determine quarantine leave is unnecessary when an employee can fulfill his or her job duties remotely during the quarantine period. And number 2, in order to shorten the quarantine period, a school district may require an employee on quarantine leave to undergo COVID-19 testing at the district's expense and provide the results to the district. Such tests shall occur no sooner than the earliest date recommended by the CDC and based upon guidelines. A district may require an employee testing negative for COVID-19 to return to work in accordance with CDC's quarantine guidelines. And number 3, a school district may require the employee to provide written documentation from the entity placing the employee in quarantine. So the main thing I think the board's to do tonight is either say we agree with what the KR says or to modify it and include one or all 3 of those options that are available. Hopefully that made a lot of sense.
Did we use number 1 last year? Didn't some people possibly?
We allowed people to work at home with it, so we have to use that.
And those last 3 points is an option 2.
I'm sorry.
Those last 3 points you made, 1, 2, and 3,
Yeah.
that's that second option. You said there was.
Yeah, it would be the second option. Basically, the second option would be you would take into place what's on the top, because it's already law, but these additional ones, we'd have to put in the minutes that the board's approved these additional items. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It would seem to me that by adding the extra, there would be an awful lot more complexity added to somebody in a quarantine situation.
I mean, I'm in favor of supporting the number 1 there, because I think we used that in the past. And I think there's probably some different positions that could happen. So
I'm in favor of all of them. My children have been put in quarantine and around people, and you know, when you get paid or you don't get paid depends on where you go to work, and you can go take a test and go back to work. You know, we may have people that wants to take the test. I'm not saying that they have to, but give them the choice that if they want to take the test and come back to work.
But can we can't shorten the quarantine period, can we?
There, yes, the guidelines currently allow, if you wait so many days, I think the difference would be if you're quarantined for 10, you can come back within 8 days. I think on day 7, if you'll take a test showing that you're negative, then you can come back 2 days earlier. Now that may be something they change later. Maybe that 2 days may grow into maybe 10 days difference between the two. I don't know. The one concern that I have about number 2 is currently the tests are free. If at some point the tests are not free, I don't know what that expense would be to the board. Because I don't know what the cost
We
would
have,
be.
we have to cover it, right?
We have to cover this.
My kids had to cover it themselves. Well, it's free right now.
It's free right now.
So, Mr. Rowe, are you looking at option 1?
If that's what the board, I'm fine with whatever the board decides with this. I mean, all these options can be good for the district and our employees.
Did you all require number 3
Uh,
documentation?
Ms. Griffin, did
What is it?
we require written documentation from the entity placing the employee in quarantine?
Yes.
We did.
So 1 and 3.
I think we need written documentation. I can see me as a former employee calling in and saying,
I mean, I'm in favor of going with the district employee quarantine leave as it's written. And then numbers 1 and 3 that are optional.
When you're thinking about this, as right now, the CDC guidance is if they have been vaccinated, they don't have to quarantine. So this doesn't really apply to anybody at this point. They're passing a regulation that doesn't have any applicable use at this moment in time. Because the guidance is if you've been vaccinated, you do not quarantine.
But that guidance could change though.
It could.
Which, if I understand Mr. Kennedy's email, we don't have to do anything with this leave.
Right.
But if we want to do 1 and 3, we need to.
Needs to be in the minutes that the board has taken action to approve those.
Anybody want to make that motion?
Any more discussion?
Ricky, your thoughts?
Well, I picked all y'all, I think one's an option, but I can see where all 3 can be beneficial.
I make the motion just to take option 1 and include 1 and 3 on the second option.
Okay.
And not the second one.
Do we have a second? The first part, and then with option 1 and 3.
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Bruce. All right, we have a motion. Vote, Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
I vote yes also. Okay. 6J, supervision hours for MHS and CSW, Ms. Cooper.
Yes, we're requesting the board approve supervision hours for one of our mental health specialists and our certified social worker. We would pay for those with ESSER funds. I think both girls have already started their supervision hours, so it won't be the full amount.
Question or comment? All right. If there's none, entertain a motion to approve the supervision hours of the mental health specialist and the certified social worker. Bruce makes a motion, second.
I'll second it.
Gloria seconds. Vote, Ricky,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
I vote yes also. 6K, MASH recommendation, Mr. Rowe.
Yeah, I think that decision's kind of basically already been made for us by our governor and also with the regulations that was passed by the Kentucky Board of Education today. I can tell you the Kentucky Board of Education voted on it, and I was able to watch that online. It was a unanimous decision by the Kentucky Board of Education that masks be worn. So that is now effective law. The question was asked by some other school districts, what happens if we have somebody an administrator who refuses to enforce that, or a staff member? What we've been told is it's now law, and your certificate's on the line if you do not enforce that. So whether we agree with this here or in the community, it's law, and we have to do it, and we will do it with that. Now, the guidance I'm going to ask the board for at this point is, we had a time frame for our stakeholders to apply for virtual instruction. That time is closed. But now with the mask mandate, do you think we should open that back up for our parents to give them that option, since the masks are now required?
Yes, I think we should.
I agree also, but I'm just curious if that's a decision we're allowed to make.
Yes, we can definitely open that up. There's no,
Okay, I just didn't know where it was, an educational platform, if we get in trouble for having that conversation.
no. It's just saying virtual, and the actual platforms will be decided by the schools.
Yes, sir, then I fully support opening it back up to the community.
Okay, one additional question. When we opened it up for this school year, we had the stipulation for those students who were not successful last year, for those who did not do their work and failed a lot majority of their classes, that they were going to have to come to in-person, because they've proven to us that they could not be successful doing that. Is that something you still want us to consider, or should we just open it up to anybody because now masks are required?
Yeah, I think so, just because they should be in charge of their own success. You know, we'll help where we can, and I think that all the educators will bring that we can assist in many different ways, be creative, and it's just up to the student, whether they're in school or online, to make the decision to be successful. It's really up to them.
Anyone else?
If they don't succeed, we don't get funded for them.
Well, that's something we'll let Ms. Tarp talk about, because there is some
Thank
questions.
you for letting me speak, because it was set up a little bit differently last year. So let me explain that. Number one, we have not had a true year when attendance dictated our funding like it typically does, because the last 2 years we have operated off the SAR before COVID hit. This will be the first year that we're returning to attendance will dictate the funding. So that is concerning to me if we open it up without any requirement. There are 2 ways to set up virtual school, and if it was not the middle of a pandemic and the state would not have opened this up, and it would have been like it typically is, and usually just at the high school level, that it's performance based. So as Mr. Smith can tell you, that means it's not included on your reports each month, but at the end of the year, it would be based on if the student completed the class, and at that point, you would be awarded the SEEK funds. So it's kind of a gamble. Me personally, I think it's better that, you know, we have a teacher that's monitoring them and keeping in close contact with them, which is why we did the virtual waiver that you all approved, if you remember that. And that meant that we could include our virtual students in our attendance reports, and that's just a 1-year deal from the state that we can include them on our attendance reports and count them like we would any other student. The only stipulation with that is that if you're an elementary student, we have to check in with you twice a day. And if you're a middle or high school student, so 6 and above, we have to take attendance every period. So there has to be somebody making contact with these kiddos. I think that's a great thing. I am concerned, coming from a DPP perspective, if you were not successful, and some students, you know, we spent all year just trying to hunt them down and make contact with them. From a safety perspective, you know, I would like to know that we had some success with them so that they can be accounted for and we know that they're going to get their work done. Yes, they are responsible for their education, but as we all know as educators, you know, sometimes they don't have the support they need at home, and we are their support system, and that's not their fault. But if we're putting them in a position where they were really unsuccessful all year, I feel like it's in their best interest that they revisit us and come in person. If they were successful and it works for your family and that's what you think is best for your child, I 100% support that. But I feel like if we know it does not work for that family and we were not successful, let's try something else and bring them back and see what we can do to help them. That would be my opinion.
It's kind of like them kids that's raising themselves, and we're the support. And we got to have a way to check in with them.
Mr. Smith, do you care if we ask some of the principals?
Go right ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I have mine up
So,
too.
anybody here that has an opinion on that? Because you're closer to the kids than we are.
Somebody go first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm not a principal, but I'll go first. I'm especially worried about our exceptional learners that have unique, learning needs. And, I think we served them the best way we knew how last year and then the closing of the year before. But having them eyeball to eyeball and face to face is the best way for us to ensure their success. We did not have good passing rates for our exceptional learners despite our best efforts. And if there is a way that we could see them every day or some days or whatever we're allowed by the state to do, then I think we can make a much better impact on them and have a much better success rate than we can doing all the things possible through the virtual world.
And I would also add something else that I left out. If your child was not successful, but they are medically fragile, so they did not qualify for virtual, but they were medically fragile, we still have home hospital available that a doctor could fill out. And I like that option better for those students because then not only are we doing all the virtual check-ins throughout the day, but then we also have a home hospital teacher that's doing at least 2 sessions on top of that. So that is a requirement with this. If we did the home hospital route, not only would we do the virtual, but we would also have 2 one-hour visits at the minimum on top of that to assist that child.
Do we know what surrounding doing? Is it all in person?
There are some districts, I listened to some things this morning and I know that Scott County opted out. They're not offering virtual at all. And it varies county to county. And with the recent changes, there's a lot of districts revisiting their plan. So it just depends on the district. That is a common concern with all the DPPs when we speak in this region, is just making sure that the kids that were not successful, just trying in every way to get them back in the building so we can get them caught up. Because not only do we need to teach them new content, we need to teach them previous content. We've got to get them caught up.
Well, and I'll add to that, as far as at the high school particularly, we are having a difficult time trying to dig them out of the hole that from this past year. And that it's just going to be awful if we do it again and we do the same thing with, those results. Our failure rate this year was 56% higher than in past years.
Now, that's the number of failing grades. That's not the number of failing students. That's the number of failing grades.
Other principals, don't be shy. Before I call your names out.
I had probably 10 families contact me over the past couple of days asking if virtual option would be reopened, reconsidered. And in some cases, there are grandparents who might be medically fragile raising students, and I completely understand that. We're fully prepared to have our students back in person. We had an accelerated model for learning PD today. The teachers are ready to go. We have some really good things planned for the school year to overcome the gaps that were created from the pandemic. I feel like that is the best option for our students. If we're making a student-centered decision, it's the best option is for them to be in person. But I do see on case-by-case basis in severe situations that, a virtual option might work better for a particular family.
Yeah.
Closer to home, I sub-teach in Gary County and had my training, I think about a week and a half ago. And at that time, they are not doing virtual with the kids. unless it's like you said, you know, a doctor's reason, or for some reason those kids cannot physically be in the building.
How many, I may have, one thing is, how many do we currently have signed up for virtual?
Give me just a second. I should have known.
So I know
that.
you shared it with me a couple days ago.
Yes, sir, Mr.
I
Smith.
can tell you all, there has been a large number of phone calls here and social media requests since the emergency order on Tuesday, asking if the option would be open back up.
I had one parent to contact me and said if it wasn't, she'd probably homeschool her.
That's been said.
That's what's
Several.
concerning to me.
Can I add one more thing? We had kindergarten camp yesterday at our school. I would say, you know, of the enrolled kindergartners that we had at Crab Orchard, I would say only a handful didn't come to kindergarten camp, and only 2 of them pulled out because of the mask situation. Kids are resilient. I mean, they see what the norm looks like, and you know, that's created in that classroom by that teacher. And kids are so more resilient than we give them credit for. You know, I want to put that out there.
We currently have 46 students signed up. The stipulations when we did the original sign up were that you had to have a C or higher in all of your classes last year. And we did have an attendance requirement, but we took that out because we felt like it was just such a crazy year and there were some inconsistencies that we really went by grades. And so if we did open this up, I would ask that we just base it completely on grades. Was the kid successful overall? And we had, let's see here, 7 that did not qualify based on grade success.
Good story. I'm calling you. What do you think?
I want all students in the classroom. I mean, I just want everybody there, but I think, again, we're living in a time where we're very divided as families, as a nation, as in all kinds of ways. And I don't know that you can dictate. I just think that we are gonna lose a lot of people if we say students have to come, or we have to open up, or we're gonna open up to certain. I don't know how you do that. I think there is a difference though between elementary and middle and high. I think the secondary students will pull out. I think a lot of your elementaries will come and, you know, continue right on, but what do we do with those secondary students? And then I think there's a difference between middle school and high school students in themselves. And I think it's best for kids to check in every single hour and all of that. But we have a lot of families who cannot do that, and 11 and 12-year-olds sitting at home by themselves, it's really difficult for them to keep up. And I don't know what's best. I mean, I know what's best as far as, I just want to go on with school. I just wish we would just go on, but I think that's going to open up just, I don't know. I really don't have clear answers.
We basically got 3 options. We do not open up virtual beyond what we have already. We open it wide open, or we open it back up with the caveats of using grades to determine eligibility. And I think those are the 3 before us, unless you guys have another option or another thought.
Well, Wi-Fi was an issue. Are we gonna do the hotspots again?
We would have to, yes.
So that's option 1, 2, 3, right?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
I will say also, anybody that signed up, I've kind of held off just because I knew numbers were going up and I knew this issue might be revisited. I'll be mailing out just all the requirements of virtual school and check-ins and whatnot. And then we did put in here at any point in time, if your child is unsuccessful, we would ask that they return in person if we just see that they're going down a rocky path.
Well, obviously, I think it's smart to build that in.
We are gonna, anybody that is quarantined is gonna go on virtual.
So that is new. Originally, what the state said was that anybody that was quarantined would have to turn in home hospital paperwork, which is impossible. If you were quarantined, to get that paperwork in time was just not feasible. So DPPs obviously spoke up, and they have since changed that. So if someone is quarantined and they turn in documentation that they're quarantined, we will have an exemption code and that's exactly what I did last year. So they can get that exemption code, and yes, we would service them through virtual means or whatever means we needed to. We would have to educate the child in order to use that exemption code.
So I can already see these teenage kids exposing themselves just so they can go back to virtual if we don't let them go on virtual.
I can't control that.
I know.
Oh.
Anybody else?
Tell me on the virtual things, can we be that specific?
Can we be that specific?
We were last year. We done it wrong last year if we can't.
I would like to make a motion that we open up virtual again, only with eligibility requirements.
Is that option 3?
I think that's, I don't know exactly order I put them in. I think
Yes,
it's-
that was three.
Anyway,
Because I put a star by my option,
Okay, I'm
so I have to
sorry.
know.
I mean, I make the motion, or does anybody second it?
I do.
Gloria second. Okay, we have a motion that's been made, and seconded, we vote. Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. I vote yes also. Thank you all for your all's input. Appreciate it. All right, 6L, 2021-2022 agreement with Bluegrass Community Action, Mr. Rowe.
Yeah, I apologize, this wasn't on our working meeting. I received it actually today after our last meeting. But this is something we annually do with Bluegrass Community Action, is we share information. They provide services to families in need. So we share information with them, and they share information with us, which is perfectly legal. And my recommendation was we would approve the agreement allowing us to do that.
Questions or comments? If there are none, I'd ask for a motion to approve the 2021-2022 agreement of cooperation of understanding with Bluegrass Community Action.
I'll make the motion.
Etta makes a motion, Gloria takes a second.
Second.
All right, vote. Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
I vote yes also. 6M, migrant staff, Ms. Tomlinson.
This is our, we do this every year. It's routine, that we have to go through the hiring process of all those folks that help Miss Betty in the migrant program.
Okay. Question or comment? If there are none, I would accept a motion to approve the hire of classified substitutes, certified substitutes, and contracted employees as needed for the 2021-2022 migrant program. Bruce makes the motion, second.
Second.
Second, Etta. Vote. Ricky,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
I vote yes also. 6N, all-inclusive playground at Stanford Elementary, Leanne Smith.
We did not have this quote at the working meeting last week, is the reason that we didn't discuss it last week, but we do have it now. And this is one of the more exciting things that I think I've been able to be a part of since I've been here. So we are looking at an all-inclusive playground at Stanford Elementary. Total cost would be $117,948. The vendor would be Playmark Playgrounds. And I'll just list some of the features here and read what the vendor sent to us, just so you can get an idea of what would be included. Some of the features are a game table, planter beds, a kitchen, there are shades, nesting tables, a play set that includes climbers, ramps, and slides, paint and chalk panels, benches, a sandbox, just all kinds of good stuff. And obviously it would be all wheelchair accessible. Darren can probably answer more of the questions logistically about it, but we do have IDEA money that we would be able to use for this. So I'm asking for the board to approve us to start the
I'd
process.
like to
on
ask
that.
Ms. Cobb, let Ms. Cobby speak, because this has been a goal of hers since she's come to the school district. I know you're passionate about this.
We've been saving and saving and saving our carryover for the last 3 years, and we're to the point now where we can afford it out of IDEA. And I think not only would it be a great thing for our students, but also a great thing for our community to be able to show that we are inclusive of all folks, of all students in our community. Especially our students who have accessibility issues. We've been able to do a couple of WHAS grants and get a few pieces and parts here and there, but to be able to save enough to be able to do this is a good thing. I don't get to do good things very often, so I like to.
Any other questions or comments?
When I saw the attachment, I got excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Can I make the motion that we're gonna do this?
Go right ahead.
Okay, I make the motion, we're gonna buy this playground
And
equipment.
Bruce seconds. Ricky, vote.
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes,
Bruce? Yes. I vote yes also.
How soon can we get it put in?
Well, that's another thing, we're gonna have to do it pretty quickly as far as those things go, because some of our funds are getting ready to expire, so we've asked.
Get it in, Mark.
He thinks he can get it in by the end of October,
Oh,
before the, bad weather comes
I'm
in.
excited to see that.
Even with the foundation, it has its own four-in-place foundation, so it's exciting.
6O, free admission for students, Mr. Rowe.
Yeah, this is something I've been passionate about since I've come here, is trying to eliminate fees for our kids. I don't think fees should be a roadblock for anything for our kids. What I'm presenting to you as an option is for this school year, for all extracurricular district extracurricular activities, not just athletics, that there is no fees for kids, not just kids in Lincoln County, kids coming from anywhere. To offset that cost, we have a sponsorship, if approved by the board tonight, with Edward Jones here in Stanford. They're willing to sponsor up to $5,000 to help offset that cost. And we also have somebody who anonymously does not want his or her name shared that is willing to do an additional $3,000. So we have $8,000 that would offset pretty much what we normally would get for what we would charge for students coming in the game. I've been with other districts that's done this, and what we found that the other ones is if you allow the kids in free, you have more adults coming to pay. So that offsets it too. This removes a barrier, and I think this is a win-win for our kids. This goes a lot with our campaign that Brad Smith's put together about Kids Matter Most. It fits in with that. The part with the sponsorship with Edward Jones, we put a banner up saying, "Thank Edward Jones for providing free tickets for your children." That's the agreement with it. Good advertising for them. It allows our kids to get in free.
Question or comment?
I just think this is wonderful.
It is.
Because I can remember, ready to go in and see a ball game, run into a kid, and they would ask me for money. Because they had a little bit of money. Of course, they wanted that for the popcorn.
Yeah, I think the sessions price, sales will go up a little bit.
And so, many times I did that, and other teachers did it too. So I just think this is excellent, wonderful, and I make the motion to accept this.
Good question, Bruce.
Do we need to, in that also include these two donations, accepting those, or will that come somewhere else?
I think we go ahead and do it now, because I like to get something going. Now, the one thing I did forget to leave out, certain events like tournament time, that will not be included in that. Or if it's one of our bowl games, like our Death Valley Bowl, that will not be part of it. You said the other regular events, it would be done.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, I would accept a motion to approve free admission for all students to attend district-sponsored extracurricular events during the 2021-2022 school year, and recognize the donation of Edward Jones in the amount of $5,000 and $3,000 from an anonymous donor.
And excluding tournament time. Do you
Yeah.
need to add that?
I don't think we have to add that.
Okay, I make the motion.
Okay, motion's made by Etta, Bruce seconds. Vote. Ricky?
Yes, sir.
Gloria?
Yes.
Etta?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. I vote yes also. 6P, early entry to kindergarten, Ms. Thomason.
Yeah, we have a couple of kiddos that missed the deadline. Their birthdays are after August the 1st, and they would like to come to school early. And so our coaches have tested them, screened them, and we'd like to have them come on early if they are ready.
Okay.
But that needs approval from the board so that we can put that into IC.
Question?
I have a question. They can't ride a school bus until they're 5.
That
The
is true.
parents know this.
Yes,
That was the only concern that I had when I seen that.
you are correct. That is right.
Okay. Bruce has a motion to approve the early entry to kindergarten for 2 students. Second?
Second. Come on, Gloria.
Good. I think we're pretty even.
We'll give this one to Gloria. All right. Vote, Ricky,
Yes, sir.
Gloria,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. I vote yes also. Next agenda item is to make public the superintendent evaluation results. I will read that out. The board chose to evaluate Mr. Rowe based on 3 standards from last year. Those standards were instructional leadership, community presence, which is standard 3, standard 6, which is communication. We picked 3 standards from 6. We assigned a value to his performance on a basis of 1 through 4. And the numbers given by each board member was then averaged out. And then we averaged the 3 standards together. In the area of instructional leadership, the board rated Mr. Rowe at 3. Standard 3, community presence, rated him at 3.2. And then standard 6, communications, rated him also at 3.2. The overall rating given to Mr. Rowe was 3.13. The board will be working with Mr. Rowe over the next several weeks to put together an evaluation plan for the coming year with goals that we would like to see accomplished by him personally and leadership of the district. Any other board member have anything to add to that?
Would you add what the 1, 2, 3, 4 represented? I mean, you have that in front of you.
I don't have that in front of me.
Okay. I don't either.
Yeah. Mr. Rowe, any comments, questions?
I just want to thank the board. Enjoy working with you. I want to continue our relationship and I want our relationship to grow stronger. And together, I think we can take this district where it needs to be and get the best student achievement and the best opportunity for the kids. So thank you for that. Before you adjourn, I don't care.
Getting ready to. Before I adjourn, one piece of information on K-Camp.
That's me.
That's you.
I will be glad to share that. I have to stand up as a
Go right
teacher.
ahead.
Sorry. Yesterday was our annual K Camp, and I do believe that this is our 5th year that we've done K Camp. So just share a couple of numbers or a few numbers with you. Yesterday we served 185 incoming kindergarteners. We had 74 at Stanford Elementary. We had 14 at Highland Elementary, 16 at Waynesburg, Crab Orchard bringing in a 34, and Houstonville with 47 students. Some of those students were transported via our buses, and some of them were brought by their parents. But we had 185 total, and I think one thing we should mention is that we were not given the mask information till the night before, so an all call went out, and we still had 185, which is just short of what we were anticipating that had registered before the mask mandate went out for K-Camp. So we were overall pleased with our numbers.
Good deal. Appreciate the work everybody puts into that.
Mr. Smith, I appreciate that, all of them. All of them. I really, really appreciate all the dedication and all the work that they do here. You know, we can't have a good leader if we ain't got a good leadership team.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the hard
And it
work,
is-
and I've watched them.
Yeah, it's been a crazy time and everybody's been asked to do a little bit more and think more originally and everything else. So appreciate all those efforts. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Gloria makes a motion, Bruce seconds. Ricky? Vote.
Yes, sir.
Gloria?
Yes.
Etta?
Yes.
Bruce? Yes. I vote to adjourn also. Mr. Lane, thank you for tuning in.
Be careful.
Stay safe.
Praying for you. Be careful.
Thank you very much.